Have you ever seen a man completely on fire and just standing there, not flailing, not screaming, not trying to put himself out, just standing like the flames don't even touch him? I have, and no matter how many years pass, I can still see him, clear as the night it happened, burning, silently, watching. The 4th of July in Georgia is hot in a way that sticks to your bones. The air feels heavy, even after the sun dips. Everything smells like barbecue, bug spray, and fireworks. That night in '98, I was working a double shift with the county EMS stationed out in Twiggs County, about 20 miles southeast of Macon. It was supposed to be a light night. You know, the usual stuff. Some burns from firecrackers, heat stroke, drunk people doing dumb things with Roman candles. My partner that night was Travis, a good guy, solid medic, maybe a little too into chewing tobacco and war stories. He was telling me about the time a bottle rocket hit him in the chest when he was 12. I wasn't really listening. That's when the call came through. I remember how the dispatcher said it. Not panicked, not rushed, just confused. Caller reports a man in fire walking through their backyard. Travis raised his eyebrow. In fire? I leaned over the mic and asked if they meant the guy was on fire, like literally burning. There was a long pause on the other end. Then she said, yes, still walking, no signs of distress. Now I've seen some wild stuff on the job, people skewered on fences, guys who didn't even know they were stabbed until we pointed it out. But this, a man burning and just walking, it made the hair on my arms stand up. Still, we were the closest unit, so we loaded up and hit the road. We headed east into the deeper parts of the county, where the roads stop having names and the mailboxes are rusted shut. About halfway there, I started noticing something strange. The air outside, it didn't smell like barbecue anymore. It smelled metallic, like burnt wires and ozone, like right before lightning hits. There was a static charge in the air that made your teeth hurt if you breathed too deep. Even Travis stopped chewing and muttered, "Man, something don't feel right." And I agreed, but neither of us turned around. We just kept driving toward the dark. When we pulled up to the house, it was like driving into a painting from the Depression era. Weather-worn wood, a porch sagging in the middle, one of those screen doors that slams hard when it shuts. There were 5 people outside, 2 parents, 2 kids, and a grandmother in a rocking chair. They weren't waving or yelling, they were just staring. The father finally ran up to us, sweating and pale. He was in the yard, he said, walking like he was lost. But he was burning. I swear to God, he was burning, and then he just vanished. I walked around back with my flashlight. That's when I saw them. The footprints. These weren't just footprints. They were deep, blackened impressions in the grass. The surrounding area was singed, like someone had used a blowtorch on the lawn. Each print was bare, human, like someone had walked across the yard barefoot while on fire. The grass was curling at the edges. The air above them shimmered like a mirage. And then that smell hit me. Not just smoke, but ozone, char, melted plastic, and something else, something old, like ash from a long-dead fire being stirred up again. The grandmother hadn't moved, just sat there, creaking back and forth. I crouched down next to her, asked if she saw anything. She didn't look at me, just stared straight ahead and whispered, "He's back. He always comes back. Every year, since '56. I asked her who she meant. She said the fireworks man. Died nearby. Explosion tore him to pieces. But every 4th, he comes back, still burning. She said she saw him the year her husband died. That the same year, her sister vanished after seeing him too. Then she looked at me, just once, and said, "You saw his steps. That means he saw you too." I didn't know what to say. I looked at Travis, and he gave me that "let's wrap this up" look. But something about that backyard felt wrong. I don't know what pulled me to the trees. Maybe it was the footprints, maybe it was the smell, or maybe it was something else, something already waiting. I walked toward the edge of the woods, flashlight cutting through the thick dark. The footprints led right up to the tree line, then stopped, completely. I was just about to turn back when I heard it. Not a voice, not an animal, a soft crackling, like a campfire, breathing. The glow was there, deep between the trees, flickering, unnatural. I thought maybe it was a firework gone rogue. I stepped forward. The forest floor was bone dry, but the air was wet, heavy with that burnt plastic stink. I kept walking until I saw it. A man. But not a man. He was standing completely still. His whole body was on fire. But the flames didn't spread. They didn't burn the grass or the trees. Just him. He wasn't melting, wasn't screaming. He was just standing there, head tilted, watching me. I froze. My brain told my legs to run, but they wouldn't move. Then he turned his head. Not all the way, just enough for me to know he saw me, knew me. And in that moment I felt it, this unbearable heat, like it had crawled inside my chest. Not around me, inside me. Then he lifted his hand and the flames roared, but they didn't spread. They snapped inward, like being sucked back into him. And just like that, he was gone. No flash, no sound. Just smoke, silence, and the smell of something ancient and wrong. I don't know how long I stood there. When I came to, I was sweating, heart racing. I stumbled back toward the house. Travis was waiting, his flashlight jittery in his hand. "You okay?" he asked. All I could say was, he was real. Travis didn't ask questions. We got in the rig and drove, fast. Back at the station, I logged it as a hallucination. Stress, heat exhaustion, whatever made it easier. But I know what I saw. And worse, I know he saw me. I quit the job 6 months later, took up carpentry. Something quiet, something that doesn't involve answering 911 calls in the middle of nowhere. But every 4th of July, I lock my doors before sunset. And I wait, not for the fireworks, not for the celebration, but for the smell, that burnt ozone, that dry static in the air, that whisper in the leaves when nothing else is moving. Because I know he's still out there. And if you see the scorched footprints, don't follow them. Because the fireworks man doesn't just appear, he remembers. I saw him again, 1 year later, just before midnight, standing at the edge of the trees, same posture, same glow, but this time he was closer. And this time, he wasn't alone. Some fires don't go out, some spirits don't rest, and some stories, they don't end, they just wait until next year. Have you ever woken up in the woods and realized everyone you love is just gone? Not like you overslept or they packed up early. I mean gone. Their tents are there, their boots, their jackets, but they're not. I remember the way the cold hit my lungs when I unzipped my tent. I remember whispering Kara's name, then yelling it, then screaming it until my throat burned. But what I remember the most is the silence. A silence so thick it had weight, like the trees were listening, like the forest was holding its breath. And when the search teams came, they found something I still see in my nightmares, our tents, ripped open from the inside, boot prints circling the camp, none of them ours, and a flag, a melted American flag, nailed to a tree with a rusted hunting knife. This happened in Pike National Forest, July 2011. My name is Jenna, and this is what I remember. It started out like any other camping trip. 4th of July weekend, 2011. I was 29, burnt out, and desperate for a break from the endless grind of freelance contracts and screen time. My friends, Riley, Troy, Kara, and Mark, we'd been close since college. Back then, every summer we'd head into the woods for fireworks, beer, and bad singing around the fire. It was kind of a tradition. That year, Kara picked Pike National Forest. Said she'd heard about a ridge with a killer view of the valley town below. We'd hike up, watch the fireworks from above, and be totally off the grid. That was the plan. One last perfect night with friends before we all went back to pretending adulthood made sense. We reached the ridge just before sunset. It felt like something out of a postcard. The trees opened up into a rocky clearing, and you could see the whole valley laid out below us like a miniature toy town. We pitched our tents, built a fire, passed around cheap beer and stale marshmallows. Riley told the same ghost story he always did, something about a Civil War soldier and a cave. We laughed. We sang. When the fireworks started, it was like we were floating above the world. Colorful bursts lit the sky beneath us. I remember the sound echoing across the mountains. Kara leaned over and whispered, "It feels like we're the only people left alive." I laughed at the time. I wish I hadn't. I don't remember falling asleep, just a warm blur of laughter, fire crackling, and distant booms of celebration. But I remember waking up. I sat up in my sleeping bag and realized the fire had gone out. Everything was dark. The air felt wrong. Heavy. Still, I checked my watch, 2:07 a.m. That's when I noticed the zipper on my tent was halfway down, open, like someone had just slipped out, or in. I called out softly, "Kara." Nothing. Not even an owl. No wind. No crickets. Just that awful silence. I stepped outside barefoot, the earth cold against my feet. The other tents were all unzipped. All of them. Flaps wide open like something had peeled them apart. I called again, louder this time. Walked to each one. Nothing inside, no people, but their stuff was all still there. Phones, boots, jackets. I ran into the woods a little, thinking maybe they were pulling some dumb prank. But the deeper I went, the more the air felt thick, like I was underwater. That's when I found the boot prints. Dozens of them, all sizes, all around the camp, not leading away, just circling, over and over, but none of them matched my friend's boots. Not one. I stayed up the rest of the night by the fire pit, holding a branch like a weapon. I thought I heard footsteps at least 3 times, but nothing ever emerged. The sky finally lightened, but the dread never left. It settled deep in my bones. By morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I packed what I could and started hiking down, every footstep echoing too loud. It felt like something was following me. Not walking, not running, just watching. When I reached the ranger station, I must have looked like hell. I just blurted, "They're gone. My friends are gone." They mobilized fast, rangers, dogs, volunteers, even helicopters. I stayed with them for 5 days straight. We retraced every step, called out their names, checked trail cameras and ranger logs, but there were no signs of my friends. No blood, no drag marks, no torn clothes. Their tents, however, told a different story. Rangers confirmed, the tears in the canvas? They came from the inside, like something had happened inside the tents, and they tried to claw their way out. On the 6th day, they found one last clue, a tree. Maybe 200 yards from the ridge, something was nailed to it. It was a rusted hunting knife, ancient, pitted with rust, and it pinned an American flag, burned, melted, warped like it had been caught in a fire but never consumed. The ranger who found it said it smelled like copper, blood, and ozone hadn't been there before. I'm certain. It felt like a message, or a warning. I haven't slept well since. I hear things, at night, whispering voices, soft laughter, footsteps outside my window. Sometimes I dream I'm back in that tent, and I unzip it, and there's nothing out there. Just a sea of shadows circling. I still hike, I don't know why. Maybe I'm hoping to find them. Maybe I'm just hoping I don't. If you ever find yourself in Pike National Forest, if you're out past midnight and you hear something, if you feel eyes on you but don't see anything, don't unzip your tent, don't follow the noises, don't go looking for footprints, because some things in those woods don't want to be found, and some things that disappear don't stay gone. If this story gave you chills, you're not alone. Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe to Sinister Horror Diaries for more true scary stories that stay with you long after the fire goes out. Have you ever stood in the middle of your town's main street and wondered what's directly underneath your feet? I'm not talking about gas lines and fiber optics. I mean the places nobody talks about. Old basements, long forgotten tunnels, storm drains older than the buildings they run beneath, hidden places that have been sealed away, not for safety, but because someone wanted them forgotten. I worked for the Evansville City Maintenance Department for over 30 years. I patched potholes, cleared sewer clogs, shoveled snow, and once even pulled a live raccoon out of a transformer box. I've been in every crawlspace, manhole, and storm tunnel in that city, or so I thought, until the summer of 1987. That year changed everything for me. It wasn't the job that broke me, it was what I found down there, beneath Main Street, right where the 4th of July parade was about to pass. That's when I discovered the door. It started like any other maintenance call. July 3rd, late afternoon. The city was buzzing. People stringing up flags, local bands rehearsing, moms taping folding chairs to curbs so nobody would take their spot the next day. I got a call from my supervisor, Jerry, who said there was a minor backup reported in one of the runoff tunnels under Main. Nothing major, just a quick check before the big parade. "You're the closest one, Dale. Shouldn't take more than an hour," he said. I grabbed my gear, boots, crowbar, flashlight, and my old city-issued notebook, and drove down to the storm access hatch between Main and 2nd. I'd been down there plenty of times. I knew that stretch of tunnel like the back of my hand. At least, I thought I did. The moment I climbed down that rusted ladder, the smell hit me. Not sewage. Not exactly. It was older, heavier, like wet rock, candle wax, and something sour. The kind of smell that sinks into your clothes. My boots hit the tunnel floor and my flashlight flickered for a second before stabilizing. The tunnel was as I remembered, stone walls reinforced with concrete patches, occasional metal supports, and runoff water trickling through shallow channels. I started walking, scanning for debris or signs of backup. The sound of my footsteps echoed too loudly. And then about 60 feet in, I noticed something strange. A section of the wall ahead of me didn't look right. The grime was too thick, too even, as if it was covering something. Something deliberate. I stepped closer, my heart already thudding for reasons I couldn't explain. I took out my crowbar and started scraping at the grime. The muck fell away in wet clumps. Underneath was metal, iron, maybe steel. And it wasn't a utility panel or a pipe. It was a door. Square, maybe 3 feet wide, completely embedded in the stone. No handles, no markings except for some strange etching near the base. Symbols I didn't recognize. I'd been down here hundreds of times over the years. That door had never been there, not once. And yet, here it was, hidden behind decades of filth. And more than anything, it felt like it had been waiting. Curiosity got the better of me. I wedged the crowbar between the cracks and pried. The door gave with a groan. Loud and wet, like something exhaling for the first time in years. Behind it was a room, a chamber of rough-cut stone. Maybe 12 feet across, 8 feet high, no windows, no other doors. Just silence, thick, unnatural silence. The air was damp and freezing. My flashlight flickered again, and when it steadied, I saw what was inside. I took a step forward, then another. What I found in that room still makes my skin crawl to this day. The floor was covered in melted candle wax. Dozens of half-burnt candles had once formed a circle, now collapsed and stuck together. Inside that circle were shoes, children's shoes, all different styles, leather, canvas, buckle straps. Some looked like they were from the 20s or 30s. Some had holes. Some were stained. None were clean. And right in the center of all of it was a photo frame, cracked, face down, like someone had placed it there on purpose. I bent down, hesitated, then picked it up. It was a black and white photograph, faded and yellowed with time. It showed the 1921 Evansville 4th of July parade. Hundreds of people lining Main Street, waving, smiling at the camera. But as I stared at the crowd, my eyes locked onto something that didn't fit. One little girl, maybe 6 or 7, stood near the edge. Her dress old-fashioned, her face pale. And unlike everyone else, she wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking out of the photo, right at me. I swear to God, her eyes were locked to mine. Cold, empty, accusing. And that's when I heard it. Something moved behind me. I dropped the photo. It hit the floor with a crack. I turned around, but there was nothing. Just that cold room and the circle of wax and shoes. I didn't care. I ran. I didn't bother closing the door behind me. I just scrambled up the ladder into the fading daylight like my soul was on fire. When I burst onto the street, I was shaking so bad I could barely talk. I reported everything, to my boss, to the police, and to my surprise, they didn't laugh. I think they saw the look in my eyes. Something was wrong down there, and they agreed to come back with me. 2 officers came with me. We retraced my steps exactly. Down the ladder, through the tunnel, I led them to where the door had been, only it wasn't there. The wall was solid, not even a seam. No grime patch, no scratches, nothing. Just smooth concrete, like it had always been that way. The officers exchanged a look. One of them mumbled something about stress, maybe working too long. But I knew what I saw. I knew what was there. I couldn't sleep that night. I sat in my recliner, eyes on the street. Around 4 a.m. I saw her, standing on the sidewalk across from my house. Same girl, same dress, just watching me. No expression, no movement. And then, just like that, she was gone, like smoke in the wind. The next morning, the 4th of July parade kicked off right on schedule. Marching bands, kids on bikes, clowns tossing candy. The crowd cheered. but I didn't celebrate. I stood near the back, barely breathing, watching the faces, and more than once, I saw her. The girl blinking in and out of the crowd, never moving, just watching. Every time a camera flashed, I felt this deep, cold jolt, like something ancient had been disturbed, like something from below was waiting to be seen again. I retired a few years later, never told anyone else what happened. But every year, when the 4th of July comes around, I get this sick feeling in my gut, like something's watching, like something remembers. And if you're ever in Evansville during the parade, maybe don't stand too close to the storm drains. Because some doors aren't meant to be opened, and some basements are better left sealed forever.